come back from this.
You don't. Welcome to a world without light.
Destiny came out in 2014 on consoles with high expectations but fell short with its story or lack thereof despite doing well financially. 3 years later, Destiny 2 was released with the promise of an improved story and characters, and most hope it would be the game that were originally promised back in 2014.
Do not look at me, creature. You are weak.
Destiny 2 is the first entry in the franchise hitting the PC market and released 6 weeks after its console version. Before looking at the PC differences, let's dive into the sequel itself to see what there is to experience. Having played hundreds of hours of the first Destiny on PS4 and experiencing all of its DLC, I was excited to hear that Destiny 2 will have a proper story this time around. Does the story improve on the original? Well, yes it does, but that's not saying much as the bar was already low coming off the first game. Destiny 2 opens with quite an impressive and exciting chapter where a new villain called Dominus bombards the city in an attempt to capture the Traveler and wield the power for himself. Your Guardian is quickly stripped away from their light and you're left without a ghost and no abilities for about 5 minutes. As the campaign hits with its high points, they're quickly brought down with the problems the game has. The opening and closing acts of the game is very impressive. Clearly Bungie did listen to their fans, however, the rest of the story is easily forgettable. The Vanguard characters or NPCs that gives you quests and sell items are more fleshed out and talks to you about events happening in the world, their hopes, and occasionally has a few jokes, with Cade 6 definitely being a standout in the game.
Cade!
Hey you two, give me a sec. Zavala's doing the hero thing in the plaza. Me? I've got a date with whoever's behind this. It'll be a short date.
Previously, NPCs just stood around and were easily forgettable. However, that is quickly brought down by the fact that your Guardian does not speak at all.
No response on any channels, even the emergency frequencies. What is going on back there? Remember when I told you that you fly too fast? Forget I said that. Fly fast.
Your ghost does all the talking for you and your Guardian just nods away each time. It's bizarre that even with the original game your character had voice, yet 3 years later Bungie opted to remove it completely. It makes your Guardian feel rather dull and uninteresting, just standing around and nodding to take commands and not questioning anything in the world. How amazing would it have been if your Guardian had dialogue options, interacted with Dominus, or even screamed when your ghost fell off his ship? I mean, after spending hundreds of hours with the ghost in Destiny 1, there has to be some sort of personal connection with it. As far as side missions go, there are plenty of them in the game. There are exotic weapon quests, adventures, lost sectors to explore after reaching the max level of 20, and public events which is shown on your map. You can also travel to certain points on the map via fast travel, which is a massive improvement over the original. You can also travel on your Sparrow, but you only obtain that later on in the game. At the beginning of the game, you're introduced to a new hub, which is a farm, ironically called The Farm. There you'll find a few vanguards and hidden items to scan to find out more about the lore, and this is one of the biggest problems I have with the game. Again, it improves by adding all of the lore within the game. Previously, most of the lore was hidden in grimoire cards which you need to read outside of the game in a web browser, but now everything is inside the game. Great, right? Not so much. There is no codex of sorts which you can just quickly check in the menu, nowhere to look up something about the first game, nothing to quickly remind you who certain enemies are. Bungie kept saying how everything is in game this time, and it is, but most of it feels hidden away and an absolute chore to find. A lot of the lore is hidden within the weapon descriptions, which is just an odd choice. Most of what I've learned from the lore were thanks to YouTubers like My Name is Bife, who dedicates their channels on Destiny lore. For example, there is practically no mention in the game about Eris Morn unless you find some hidden item to scan, and I only find that out by watching one of his videos. A lot of the questions from the original game is still unanswered, and instead of building on that, maybe answering who that mysterious time travel from the original game was, they introduced a new threat who is easily resolved towards the end and very predictable. Dominus often makes questionable choices as a villain. Essentially, he wants to take the power of the Traveler but prefers to earn it. His friend tried to convince him to take it, but he continues to argue that he needs to earn it. However, in the end he just takes it anyway. As mentioned, you lose your power and ghost at the start of the game, making your character feel vulnerable and weak, but within the first minute you find your ghost who heals you, and the very first mission gives back your power, eliminating any danger and threat your character had.
This is why we were led here. I haven't been as close to the Traveler's Light since... Do you feel it? Hold on to your helmet. Do you feel it?
Imagine if you had gone through half of the game knowing you can die at any point, having to use stealth and certain tactics to complete a few missions. Any person who has played a first-person shooter game in the past would find Destiny 2 very easy, as I often punched my way through areas with ease, and at times when I did die, I just respawned with the room being cleared. There is no difficulty to set unless you finish the game. A lot of the cutscenes also feels a bit misleading. In certain scenes you see ships battling in the air, yet your ship still just acts as a loading screen. Ikora, one of the vanguards, rides a sparrow while wielding a weapon, which gives you the indication that you can now shoot from your sparrow. Nope, that's still not possible. The campaign can be done in around 8 hours or so, with an ending indicating that there is more to the story and will probably be explained in the upcoming DLC packs. With a power level max of around 305 at this point, loot is one thing that keeps you going in the game. With engram dropping gear, emotes, shaders and ships, you often keep grinding for those exotic and legendary gear. However, there are also bright engrams you obtain for leveling up, which contains exclusive shaders, ships, emotes and weapon skins. The problem with these are that you can purchase them with real world currency, although it's not advisable. Apart from the campaign, you also have strikes that puts you and 2 other guardians in the playlist to compete in what is essentially an extended mission. These go by fairly quickly, but it is a lot of fun, even when going solo, as the matchmaking system is rather simple and quick. Crucible is Destiny's PvP mode, previously a 6v6 mode, but now transformed into a 4v4 mode. Anybody familiar with online shooters will easily adjust to these modes, as they have Team Deathmatch, Control Point, Kill Confirmed, although just named differently as Clash, Control and Supremacy. Countdown allows you to activate a bomb or defend a bombing station, while Survival has a respawn limit on each team. Then there's the Raid. Just one for now though. The raid work as any other raid would in an MMO, which puts you in a team with 6 guardians to complete various steps in order to complete the raid, which takes easily from 3 to 6 hours. It does offer exclusive gear, and the raid itself has some fantastic areas. It's just a little disappointing that the base game only has 1 raid to begin with. Prestige difficulty settings is part of the endgame content, and a lot of the game's difficulty only opens up towards the end. However, it does feel a bit like a grind session. You still get to choose between the same 3 classes, it being a Titan, Warlock or Hunter. The only difference now is that each class has a new subclass, thus making each one have 3 subclasses to choose from, but towards the end, I had each subclass fully upgraded, making it rather pointless to tactically choose which subclass to invest in. The character creation though is exactly the same as Destiny 1. Yes, nothing has changed. No new faces, hair, or even a choice to add a beard. You get to choose between male or female and 3 races, it being human, awoken, and exo, but none of that affects the game at all, and you cannot change your character's appearance at a later stage. The soundtrack though is where the game really shines. Matching the visuals on screen, I'd find myself looking up certain songs to listen to outside of the game, and I even went to buy the soundtrack aside from getting an exclusive emblem with it. The sound effects also sounds authentic and the voiceovers are top notch, what you'd expect from a Bungie game really. When looking at the visuals, it's really one of the biggest differences the PC version has. Playing it up to 4K and at 60 frames per second, the game just feels so much better than the console version, even when playing it on a PS4 Pro. Graphically, the game has incredible set pieces and texture quality you'd expect from a game like this. When I played the PC version after spending dozens of hours on the console version, I could immediately notice the differences. Somehow, I wished that they had Destiny 1 on PC as well, or allowed me to import my character from PS4. With this using the Blizzard servers and only being on Battle.net, you can clearly see that the experience online feels much smoother than its console counterpart. You can also join clans, which rewards you by completing weekly activities, and Destiny 2 has seasons, with Season 1 being active at the moment. Destiny 2 is definitely a much better experience when playing with friends, but even if your friends don't play this, the Destiny 2 companion app is an easy way to find and match up with other players to do activities, events and raids. I've met some incredible people on there and now play with them on a regular basis. Overall, for what Destiny 2 does right, it also does something to make that right a wrong. It's definitely an improvement over the original, but for a PC player who is new to this universe, you can't really compare it to the original title. As gorgeous as the game looks on PC with its incredibly addictive gameplay, it's pulled down by its dull campaign, repetitive action and predictable plot. As a massive fan of Destiny, yeah, I even bought the massive collector's edition of both Destiny 1 and Destiny 2, I had high hopes for the sequel, and maybe, just maybe, they'll improve even more with its upcoming DLC, with the first being released in December. But as it stands, Destiny 2 on PC is definitely worth buying at a discount. Don't get me wrong, Destiny 2 is fun and addictive, but at the end it does begin to feel a bit empty. However, with the loot and gameplay, it keeps drawing me back. I'd like to thank Activision and Megarom for providing me with a copy of this game, and if you enjoyed this review, then why not click the subscribe button? If you like this video, then give me a thumbs up. If you dislike it, then give me a thumbs down, but please tell me why, so I can improve my videos. My name is Frank, I'm the Red Side Guy, and frankly, thank you for watching. Catch you guys in the next video.